Hello everyone, and welcome to Soul GPS, where we learn to take our life back in our hands after narcissistic abuse. And today I wanted to talk to you about getting your intuition and self-trust back online after having been betrayed. And I wanted to address a comment/question that was left on one of my earlier videos by a person by the name Great Sport. So this is a question, this is a comment that was left. I'd like to know more about intuition. I don't trust my intuition. I've shut myself off, afraid of getting involved with the wrong people and getting hurt and taken advantage of. Is there a way out? My trust was shattered at a very young age, and as this happened over and over, I basically can't trust anybody. I've sealed myself off, so to speak, because I'm afraid of having my trust betrayed again. Great question, Great Sport, and I'm sure you are asking this question for many of us because there is nothing that I think gets damaged more than our sense of self-trust after we have gone through this terrible, heart-wrenching, earth-shattering experience. So let's get to this. In my opinion, especially looking at my own experience of what I went through, I felt, looking back, that the reason why a lot of what happened. Now, this is now me taking responsibility for my action, looking at my role in getting involved, is that I was too trusting and too open too quickly. The reason why this often happens with many of us is because we are taught early on in our life to not trust our intuition, even when we sense that something is off or something is wrong. Instead, we feel and we think like, oh, this is not a big deal, right? We're probably exaggerating, we're being too sensitive, we're this and that, right? And this can often happen because, for instance, as kids, we have approached our parents with difficult questions that something may be wrong, right? We have picked up on an emotion, we have picked up on a vibe at home, and we wanted to know what was going on. And we were dismissed and being told that, nope, there's nothing, go play, right? Go watch TV, don't worry about it. But you could see, you could feel that something indeed was wrong. And I don't think that, these questions by children are necessarily easy to answer for parents, but a healthy parent would find a way to somehow validate the child's agitation and, try to answer it in a way so that the child feels at peace, like, oh, okay, and feels like what they felt was indeed legit. But this way, it's very selfish of the parent to do that, because basically what really the truth comes out here, you see that all they want is basically to get rid of the kid and not really deal with the issue, right? It doesn't matter whether they're, deep in the trenches of grief or this or that. I think it's really important that the child is treated with some form of a validation. So, okay, if it happens once or twice, things happen. But if it happened over and over and over again, then it becomes a form of training. And a child then goes into the world, and instead of being prepared to face reality for what it is, which is a mixed bag, it kind of enters the world with a bit of a hazy consciousness. I remember that's what happened to me. I kind of thought that everybody was nice. I used to believe that everybody was trustworthy. I used to believe that the world was paradise, except if people could just think differently and smile a little bit more, and oh my God, this one indoctrination after the other, which then made basically the universe, I think, was trying to really knock on the door and say like, hello, wake up, and serve me 4 betrayals in a row within 12 months that were absolutely just world shattering, where the choice was basically I either fall asleep and never wake up, or I really wake up, really wake up. And thank God I did. Because now, through this experience, by going through hell, by going through the darkest pit of uncertainty on my own and coming out, now I know I can do anything, right? I scaled the hardest summit I think there was to scale, where I had no one there to help me. It was the grittiest lesson of my life. And now that I wouldn't say that I'm completely there. I wouldn't say I'm completely healed. I still get all these emotions, but here's the thing. Life is not, and the healing is not maybe so much about getting rid of all these negative emotions, because life is a plethora of everything, right? It's a mixed bag. But it's about learning to sit with those emotions. And I too sometimes fail to do that, because I'm busy, I'm doing something, and then something arises. It's a really icky feeling, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with it right now. I just need to do this and that. And of course, I can never complete the task properly until I actually take a break and just sit with those emotions. That is such a crucial lesson, you know, to really be at peace with whatever it is that's coming up. So I would say that it is really time to set things straight, great sport, and to learn this, which is that we can't trust anyone until we fully trust ourselves. And to get back on our feet and fully trust ourselves, that is going to take some time. But it's also going to take some tweaks in our thinking to understand that, number one, we were trained to doubt our intuition, and number two, we were outmaneuvered by an extremely cunning person who knew the rules of the game which you were playing while you didn't even know you were in the game. So this was very uneven stakes. I don't know if I said that right, but you know what I mean. That the rule, it was not a fair game. So you were set up to fail from the start, because in your mind you were thinking that you were getting into something that was good, which is how it should be, which is how, if this world was a healthy place, this is how we would all interact with each other, right? We could create something close to a Shangri-La, but we can't, unfortunately, because the world is full of people who take advantage of other people. The world is full of people who hurt other people. So that's the awakening, right? It's. I remember reading something in one of the. I used to be really into Buddhism, and it said something in one of the books I was reading, that a monk said, a really advanced. It was more like not a monk, but what do you call it? Like an advanced, something like a Dalai Lama type person. I'm sorry, I can't think of the word right now. But they said, they said people really want to wake up, but if you were to really, really, really wake up, most people, if they had this awakening process, they would want to go right back to sleep, because they couldn't take the truth. The truth is so heavy. Like, people think that waking up is all this, like, oh, just flow, you know, airy-fairy, just this, you're just in this shimmering ecstasy, right? That's something else. That's samadhi. That's something that you get to when you're penetrating layers and layers upon layers of consciousness, and that's a state of being that you learn through practice and through learning how to be with yourself. That's where you conquer loneliness once and for all, and you never are ever again afraid of being alone. You actually love being alone. You savor being alone. That's completely different. So awakening is heavy. It's like, actually, it's like falling from the sky on the hard ground, right? Because we used to like flow in this space, like thinking that life is this or that, but no, it's not. You know, life is there's so many more aspects to it. And we can't really ever fully know life, because we get to know life through our experience. So this is an experience that really opened up big gates of truth. And it can be truly incredibly overwhelming. But our concern here is with intuition. And you believe, dear great sport, that you probably lost your connection. And I know it feels this way, because your connection, if you imagine, is like this, like you're looking at the sun. Right? You're looking at the sun, and that's your intuition. Let's say the sun is within, but it's bright, and it's communicating with you, and it's sending you messages, right? It's there, it's present, it's bright, it's strong, it's hot. But after you go through this experience like that, it's like a rainstorm that comes in, and thick and heavy clouds obstruct your connection. So the reason why you think you're not connected anymore is because you have all of this stuff between you and you, so to speak. So, but I want to tell you, you can never lose the connection. Never, ever, ever. Because if you just think of that person that hurt you, right? That what they did to you, if you just for a moment let yourself go back into that experience and remember what they said, remember how they looked you in the eyes and lied to you, remember how they just completely didn't give a fuck about how it affected you. In fact, you sense that they were enjoying watching your pain. They were enjoying watching you squirm inside. They were enjoying watching you get lost in the labyrinth of their lies and not be able to tell truth from fiction anymore. They kind of like that. They were feeling like, oh my God, this person is like totally fallen into this trap and they don't know how to get out. It's like a spider, right? Spinning its web around their victim. It is just disgusting what these people do. It's disgusting. They're heart-wrenching. It's like they don't have any conscience. They don't have any empathy. They're just having fun, right? So when you think of that, I don't know about you, but I'm sure it's not feeling good, right? I mean, just thinking about what was done to me, it's like my mother wound, which is that I connected that two together, is that the first wound was from my mother, in my case. Just never quite feeling like she was there fully for me, and me always sort of chasing after the carrot and the illusion of trying to do anything and everything to get her love, get her to fully love me. And then she learned to take advantage of it and use it as a game, for me to do things for her. It's like, oh my God. Once I realized that, I cried for like a week. I was alone during that time, which I think was good, but I felt like the world just completely lost its color. I felt like it was cold, which it really was. And on top of it, there was a storm raging in town and it was freezing cold. So it was like the weather and my state of being were just completely in perfect reflection. So the reason why it feels so horrible is because it is your intuition. It is your higher mind. It is your GPS trying to steer you away from that person. It's trying to tell you that this is toxic. The reason why it feels so bad is because it is not love. Because love doesn't hurt. The reason why it feels this bad is because you gotta get away from this person. And I know, because it's just like you're trauma bonded to them, right? Whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, whether it's a sibling, a friend, a wife, a husband, a child. Right? Children are doing this to their parents too. So it's not, it happens all the time, everywhere. No one is exempt. And it's like, so we have this bond. So to break that trauma bond, that requires really waking up to the truth of who these people are. And we can't fathom that because we're not that way. And we think that everyone is like us, or we used to think that everybody was like us, right? That was our own kind of self-centered way of looking at the world. It was a nice way of looking at the world, right? Like you wanted everyone to be nice. That's why the awakening is so difficult, is because it's not about the fact that things are just so, I don't know, so much better than we think. Things are actually worse than we think. But they can get better once we see the truth, because now we can start to give our energy and value to the things that truly matter. And if everybody did that in the world, maybe not everybody, but majority of us did that, then we can very quickly shift the energy towards the good, shift the energy towards up-leveling the society on our planet. So the work that you're doing on yourself right now is work that you're doing also for the rest of the world and for future generations. So this is an important role you're playing. So take some pride in this. So your intuition never really left you, because if it did, you wouldn't feel bad. You would be just like the narcissist. Would be like, it doesn't matter. It's okay. I'm fine. And go off to fulfill your next agenda. But you're not like that. You are connected. You always have been connected. The second very important thing I want to talk to you about is that the reason why you are having issues with trusting on other people again is because you've been betrayed. You know, and you're in a self-protection mode. So this is where your body, again, is coming in with its really advanced intelligence, and it's telling you, this is not time to interact with society. This is not time to go make friends, new friends, right? This is not the time to go and, you know, accomplish stuff. This is the time for you to step back. And this is the time for you to take the time for yourself to heal. This is your hibernation period in life. And trust me, speaking of trust, it is worth it. It is worth to really take the time and to really go within and to really get to know yourself. It's kind of like, many of us haven't spent much time inside, right? It's kind of like an abandoned attic. But take your flashlight and shine some light. You'll find some great treasures in there, right? You might be able to rearrange some things. You might be able to open the curtains and air it out a little bit. Bring in some flowers. That's what this work is going to do. You're going to remodel your home or rebuild it from scratch completely. So your body is in a self-protection state, and it's in response to all the suffering that you have been through. It's like, imagine yourself being, you know, walking through a rain of razor blades, okay? Exposing your body to cuts, right? It's like it's cut, it's bleeding. That's what happened to your psyche. So now what? You're gonna go and interact with people? No, this is not the time to go and interact with people. This is the time to put ointment and oils and love yourself and give yourself this time and really look at what happened and why it happened. Dive within, give yourself all this love, you know, and accept the universe loving you too. Because you never are going to have to go through this again if you really hold this lesson. It's a really difficult lesson, but it's like a call to action. And it's a really important call to action that gives you a chance to completely reinvent yourself. The degree to which you were harmed is the degree to which your soul wants to retreat into hibernation. I actually wrote this one down. The degree to which you were harmed is the degree to which your soul wants to retreat into hibernation. So if any of you out there are fatigued, the fatigue and trauma, I want to make actually a separate video on this, how the link between the two. Because if we've been hurt so often, so many times, like imagine yourself just being just slayed and slashed, right? It's all internal, we can't see it. But it hurts. And you're now operating like at a very, you know, you're not at your 100%. You may be operating at 20% or 30% of your capacity, because everything else is going to constantly either warding off more pain or trying to heal those wounds. It's kind of like, you know, like when you're sick. So these are internal emotions, and many people never look at it. The people who stay in this middle coasting zone, they never look at that. So they live their life always like there's something draining their life force. But because it's draining their life force only a little bit, they don't really have the motivation to look deep inside at what's really going on. It's only when this happens. I know I was the same. You know, I was skimming around the edges. I didn't really know what was wrong. That's another thing. Like I was telling you in my previous video, that it's like we can't find medicine, the right kind of medicine for our soul, until we know what really ails us. Now this is again an amazing opportunity, because now we've been revealed what the issue is. And what's amazing, what really amazes me is, as I'm reading your comments and as I keep educating myself on the subject, how similar all of our stories are. They're just so similar. So dear great sport, do not worry about not being able to trust other people. It's too early right now to trust new people. Go to the people, if you need to spend time with other people, go to the people that you know you can trust, people who have been there for you before, your friends that you've relied on for a long time. Maybe it's forums and support groups that are better for you right now, just to connect with others, just because these people will understand what you've been through. Once you heal more, your energy will start to come back. Your confidence will start to build. Your self-respect will increase. Your connection to your intuition is going to start to grow. and therefore you'll be able to have much more fulfilling interactions, because you will know how much of yourself you can or cannot reveal at which point. So you'll be able to take your time. So don't be too hard on yourself right now. Don't be too hard on yourself. Take your time. Be really patient. This is a process that is going to take a while. Again, the degree to which you were harmed is the degree to which your soul needs to retreat into hibernation. And I'm using the word soul here kind of as a loose term. It's a connection of, body, mind, emotions, and spirit. It's like the whole thing, because everything's been harmed. Even if maybe we weren't sexually abused or physically beaten, but because of the emotional abuse, it does have an effect on our bodies. It probably did affect our digestion, maybe our breathing, maybe our heart. We might not know what the effects were because maybe they were subtle, but because you were feeling that ick, that means your body was feeling it too. So the fog needs to lift. The cognitive dissonance is also a very big part of this process, is because you don't know which is true and which is lie. So cognitive dissonance is where you're having two opposing things happening before you, right? Which is which is where the narcissist would be very nice to you, and then the next moment do 180 degree on you and be absolutely disrespectful, dismissive, hurtful, and then you couldn't tell like what was going on. It was really confusing, and it evokes all sorts of negative emotions, because our body is right away, our intuition, right, is right away putting us into self-protective mode, is telling you withdraw, like this is wrong, step back, something is off. So that cognitive dissonance, it's kind of like when you're in a stressful situation, say at work, right, and you have a deadline, and your boss is constantly like shifting the deadline and is pushing you to do more and add this and add that, and say that happens for a month. Every single day you're under a lot of stress. Eventually what's going to happen is, once you when you complete the project, for a while you're still going to be in that stress, you're still going to be in that hyper adrenalized state. It's because the body manufactures different chemicals depending on our emotional state. And then in order for those chemicals to come down to normal levels, it's going to have to take some time, and you'll get withdrawal symptoms. It's just like with addiction. That's why it's so difficult to break addictions. This is a form of chemical addiction because of the feelings that this narcissist evoked, when it was on one hand really positive and then on the other hand was really negative. That creates this back and forth state of like, it's kind of like smoking, right? On one hand, it excites you and adrenalizes you, on the other hand, it calms you down. So it's like you got this dual dance, right, happening. So now if you step out of it, you quit smoking, you quit that, you cut off your connection, your body's still kind of doing this back and forth thing, but so you kind of want that again, because the silence is just deafening. You like, you're faced with all of these thoughts, and all this is like, yes, I know. I remember this lasted a few months. And I think one of the reasons why, I don't know if I moved through it quickly, honestly, because maybe there are people who move through it even faster. To me, it was about 8 months, right? I heard that it might take a couple years. So I was like, I was really bracing myself for this one. But I think the reason why I pushed through faster was because I knew I had to leave home at a certain time. And so I had only this much time to really figure out my shit, and then I would be sailing off, right? Going on this trip. And I'm thinking, when I'm on this trip, I need to like get my shit together, because otherwise, like, I'm not going to enjoy this trip, and I might meet more harmful people. I just didn't know. I thought, okay, I'm going to do everything and anything I can to move through it faster. So I gave myself a date. I had a date, right? And so I raced through it. Even though I did give myself an ample amount of rest. Actually, rest was a really big part of, if not the biggest part of this process, was a lot of journaling and a lot of rest and a lot of sitting with myself and letting these emotions just be there. And then once it would get unbearable with the sense of thinking of the narcissist, I would have to pattern interrupt myself and quit it, and watch a movie, read a book, do something to distract myself, and then the grief that would come, I would just sit with it and be accepting of it and really love myself and really do a lot of inner work, inner child work, and go back to my past. And just the whole timeline, I had to like go through my whole timeline up to this point and set things right. And I didn't get everything right. I'm sure there are there are glitches along the way, but I got majority of it right. And I really focused on the future more than on what happened. And as I was focusing on the future and thinking, okay, like when I was looking at the map and thinking where I'm going to go, where I'm going to travel, I let my intuition to guide me too, you know. And sometimes it wasn't the right day to book it. I just felt like today is not the day to book my hotel. Today's not the day to book my flight. And then I would wake up and I'd feel, oh, today's the day. Now's the time. Now's the time to do it. So you can train your intuition that way too, you know, with different choices that you make, whether it's what kind of dinner what are you gonna have for dinner, or you know, whether you're supposed to call this person back or not, whether you are supposed to go to that party or not, whether you should read this book or not. Like, let your intuition tell you. If you get excited about something, do it, follow your bliss. But if something feels like this just, no, I don't, this is just too muddled, I don't know. Like, if you don't know, don't do it. Don't know means no. Don't know means no. Yes has to be a full yes. Otherwise, it's proceed with caution. So give yourself some time. Be patient with yourself, and let the fog lift. Let all of those chemicals subside, you know. And also with respect to emotional healing, that's another form of training that many of us had. I think majority of humans have had the training where, you know, when we cry or when we feel sad as children, we're being told to stop it, and just put a smile on our face, or when we don't feel like it. And so what this is teaching us subconsciously is that those emotions are bad, you know. So then when later in life we're being faced with having to deal with those emotions, such as now, right? Now is like the time to do it. We are so scared to go there because we have been told, and we might not even remember, but because maybe not even told, but we have been taught to not go there because this is bad. It's a bad idea. You know, we should always be on the happy side. We should always like focus on the positive. Yes, focus on the positive in a sense that you're going to be fine. You're going to get out of this. You're going to come out of this. But in order to come up through the mountain to the top of the mountain, you have to walk the mountain. And there's some really treacherous territories we're gonna have to walk through. But this is how heroes are made, guys. This is how heroes are made. This is the dragon you're gonna have to slay. This allows you to really live an extraordinary life. This experience. Because, like I said, majority of people live very mediocre existence where they're just in this very lukewarm state where things are not too bad, but they're also not very good. You're able to go from one extreme of just total nightmare to bliss, if that's what you want. And you can do this. And you do this by going within yourself and loving this person that you are. Caring for this person that you are. And then as you heal, you're going to start to attract situations, people, circumstances, thoughts, ideas, purposes, milestones, goals, I don't know, places to visit. Everything will open itself up slowly, one step at a time. But also, there's one more thing too that I want to really tell you, and that is this. The reason why you have to be really patient with yourself is this hibernation is like incubation. It's like being pregnant with a baby. And if you're a man, just bear with me here. It's like a seed, right? It's like planting a seed. Oh, there we go. When you plant the seed underground, you cover it with earth. For a long time, nothing happens. For a long time, it seems like there's just no results. But then eventually what will happen is you're going to experience a very quick progression. And things are going to just open up all of a sudden. Things are going to start making sense. It's kind of like the critical mass taking hold. Like at first you're just putting all this work, and nothing is happening. You're like, what's going on? Like nothing's happening. I'm still feeling shitty. So know that every single time you take a deep breath Every single time you take that 1 minute, do that 1 minute meditation. Every single time you choose to go to a yoga class, right? Every single time you do something that you've always wanted. If you don't like yoga, don't do it. I'm just saying, like, every time you do something that's good for your mind and soul, for you. Everyone's preferences are going to be different. But every time you do something like that, it all counts. It all is added to the bucket. And eventually it's going to fill, and it's going to come above the ground, and you're going to start seeing the results. And when that moment happens, when that day happens, I would actually love to hear from you, because I know that's coming. I know that's coming. And the more, the degree to which you give yourself the time, the rest that you needed after you've been cut, you know, after you've been harmed and hurt and molested and used and abused, you may need a little bit extra time. And that's okay. And that's totally okay. Because your life is your life, and you take as much time as you want to take. Okay, so now I want to actually save you more time with this, so I'm gonna stop talking, let you guys go. And thank you so much for being on my channel and for finding this information helpful. I have so much more for you coming, and you please keep your comments coming, because they inspire me to answer more topics and see what it is that you really need to know about. So I'm sending you all my best wishes, lots of love wherever you are on this planet, and I look forward to connecting with you in another video. And great sport. I hope that I helped answer your question. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. And remember that your intuition, it is guiding you already. So just let it happen. Thank you.